feared, but not for the reason you think.
When Michael Jordan, the greatest to ever touch a basketball, admits he feared someone, that's when you stop and pay attention. Not respected, not admired, feared. And the guy who put that kind of fear in Jordan wasn't some high-flying superhero. It was a slow, non-jumping, trash-talking forward from a tiny Indiana town called French Lick. Larry Bird looked more like a guy fixing your driveway than an NBA superstar. No bounce, no speed, moved like he was hauling groceries, and somehow he spent a decade haunting the most athletic players on earth. Jordan said it himself, on camera, and what he revealed about Bird's mind games changes everything about how you think dominance works. Bird didn't just beat you with skill, he beat you before the ball even got tipped. He lived in your head rent-free. Flashback to 1984. Michael Jordan enters the league as the third pick behind Hakeem Olajuwon and Sam Bowie. From day one, everyone sees he's different. The hang time, the cuts, the way he sliced through defenses like nothing. But Jordan's Bulls weren't ready. Young team, no experience, and they took their lumps. And sitting at the top of the basketball world like a king on his throne was Larry Bird and the Boston Celtics.
He's like, I am the best shooter this game, and he's saying it out loud so everyone can see. I'm like, oh my God, he's outing me at my home in front of all my family and friends. I'm the best shooter this game has ever seen.
Every time Jordan walked into Boston Garden, he wasn't just playing a team. He was stepping into Bird's personal torture chamber, a place where even legends got humbled. The Celtics beat Chicago almost every time they faced off. It wasn't even competitive. Jordan would drop 30, 40, sometimes 50. But Boston still walked out with the win, and Bird made sure Jordan understood the difference between putting up numbers and actually winning games. That was Bird's whole message. Your highlights mean nothing if he's the one holding the trophy. You can score all you want, the scoreboard decides everything. The best example? The 1986 playoffs. A series Jordan has probably replayed in his mind forever. In Game 2 at Boston Garden, he delivered one of the greatest performances ever, 63 points in a playoff game. Still the record today. He hit everything, attacked from everywhere, and even Boston's tough crowd gave him a standing ovation. And after that masterpiece, Bird dropped the legendary line, "I think it's just God disguised as Michael Jordan." Let that sink in. Larry Bird, the best player in the world at the time, basically said a 23-year-old Jordan looked divine out there. But here's what hit Jordan the hardest. Even with 63 points, even with the whole building in awe, Boston still won the game. Bird put up 36, 12, and 8 and reminded everyone what really counts, winning. And that lesson stuck with Jordan for the rest of his career. That game became Jordan's measuring stick, the moment he realized what real mental dominance looked like. If you study how MJ built his own edge later on, the trash talk, the psychological games, turning every tiny insult into fuel, you can see Larry Bird's influence all over it.
Let me know from the start of the game what he was gonna do. He really did. He let me know. Before the game, he told me, he was like, he just shook his head at me. He said, man, it's gonna be a good night for you.
So what did he put up?
I think he gave me 40.
Jordan watched how Bird got inside people's heads and treated it like homework. Then he took that formula and cranked it up. He'd tell defenders he was dropping 40, then casually give them 55. He'd create grudges out of thin air just to hype himself up. He'd remember something you said years earlier and use it like ammo. People always say Kobe studied Jordan, but before that, Jordan studied Bird. Bird broke opponents mentally, possession by possession, and Jordan absorbed every bit of it. And when MJ talks about Bird today, his whole tone shifts. You can hear it in his voice. It's not the usual confident swagger. It's respect, with a little hint of leftover fear. If the greatest player ever admits another man shook him, that tells you everything. Larry Bird was different, and it had nothing to do with athleticism. Bird wasn't jumping over anything except maybe a curb. He wasn't fast, he wasn't flashy, and he definitely wasn't entering any dunk contests. Bird's resume almost sounds unreal, like something out of a video game. 3 championships, 3 straight MVPs from 84 to 86, a feat only Russell and Wilt ever pulled off. 12 All-Star nods, Rookie of the Year, 2 Finals MVPs, the whole package. On paper, he looked like a once-in-a-generation superstar who shaped his era. But he didn't look like a superstar. He looked like a guy fixing your roof, not dropping 30 on elite defenders.
That boy, he can play, man. He turned it out.
He came from French Lick, Indiana, a tiny working-class town with under 2,000 people. Basketball wasn't just a sport there, it was the town's pride, the one thing that put them on any map that mattered. They called him the Hick from French Lick, and instead of running from that nickname, Bird embraced it like armor. He grew up in a big family with money always tight, and hoops became his escape, the one thing that made sense. By the time he reached Indiana State, he wasn't just scoring, he was carrying a program nobody cared about straight into the national spotlight, all the way to the 1979 title game against Magic Johnson's Michigan State. That 1979 title game is still one of the most watched college basketball games ever. More people tuned into that matchup than most NBA finals. Bird didn't win that night. Magic's squad was stacked. But the fact he dragged Indiana State to that stage was unbelievable. Before Bird showed up, the Sycamores were invisible, a program nobody cared about, losing more than winning. Once he arrived, they were suddenly on every front page in the country. And that championship game didn't just make great TV. It launched one of the biggest rivalries in sports history, one that defined the entire 80s. People forget how much Bird elevated everyone around him. He made teammates better just by being on the floor. Veterans like Dave Cowens and Tiny Archibald, guys who looked like they were done, suddenly had new energy, and Red Auerbach doubled down. He stole Robert Parrish in a trade, drafted Kevin McHale, brought in Dennis Johnson, kept Cedric Maxwell, and just like that, the roster became a powerhouse. Boston didn't just get good again, they became the most intimidating squad in the league. A championship machine. By Bird's second season, they were already NBA champions, which almost never happens.
Larry Bird played in this era, I think he'd be in Europe.
Rookies don't walk into a losing franchise and flip it into a dynasty. But Larry Bird did it right in front of everyone. At first, players around the league showed Bird pure respect. The numbers, the toughness, the work ethic, the way he brought the Celtics back to life. But respect is surface level. Respect is for people who are good at what they do. Fear is different. Fear is when you're already doubting yourself before the opening tip because of the guy staring you down. Fear is sitting in your hotel room the night before a Celtics game, knowing Bird is going to be in your ear nonstop. The early years built the resume, the titles, the underdog rise, the Boston turnaround. But the real fear came later. It hit when Bird started calling his shots out loud and making defenders watch him pull them off like a magician, explaining the trick before performing it. His trash talk wasn't the usual, "you can't guard me" stuff everyone says. Every player talks. What made Bird dangerous was that he told you exactly what he was about to do, then did it. It wasn't an insult, it was a prediction. And that's what broke players mentally. When a guy tells you he's hitting a jumper from the wing, gives you the exact spot, then buries it in your face while you're all over him, you're not just losing on the scoreboard anymore. You're losing in your head. You're getting broken mentally, and that was Bird's real superpower. Take Reggie Miller's rookie season. Reggie grew up idolizing Bird. Posters on the wall, watching him on TV, dreaming of playing like him. Then suddenly he's on the floor against him, living the dream. Bird didn't waste a second. He walked right up to Reggie and said, "You're the guy they drafted ahead of me, right?" It wasn't even true. Reggie was drafted in '87, Bird in '78, 9 years apart. But that was the joke. Bird didn't care if it made sense. He just wanted to mess with your head, plant a little doubt, shake your confidence. Then he torched Indiana with jumper after jumper like he was giving the rookie a personal lesson. Reggie's told that story a million times. That was the moment he realized Larry wasn't just a scorer. He was a psychological assassin who turned every game into mental warfare. And then there's Shawn Kemp, maybe the most humbling Bird moment ever. Kemp was a young athletic monster, bouncing out of the gym, dunking everything, running like a track star. Bird had none of that. So you'd think the matchup would favor Kemp, right? Wrong. The young athletic guy should have crushed the older slow forward. But Bird didn't need hops. He didn't need speed. Kemp tells the story himself. During his rookie year, Bird sized him up before tip-off and flat out called his shot, telling Kemp exactly where he was going to score, and then hit that exact shot like it was scripted. Kemp said it shook him completely. His confidence just vanished. Because how do you guard someone who predicts your failure right in your face and then delivers on it? You're the young gun trying to prove yourself, and this older dude makes you look like you showed up to the wrong league. And then there's the iconic 1986 three-point contest, one of the coldest moments in All-Star history. Bird walked into the locker room, looked at all the top shooters, Dale Ellis, Detlef Schrempf, all of them, and said, "Who's coming in second?" He wasn't joking. He was announcing the winner before the event even started. Then he went out there, hit 11 straight in the final round, and won the whole thing without even taking off his warm-up jacket. He shot in his jacket like he was casually warming up, not competing for a title. The wild part? This wasn't theater to him. Bird knew he was the best shooter alive, and he proved it on national TV with the entire league watching. The crazy part about Bird wasn't the trash talk. Anyone can talk. What broke defenders was that his words were promises. When he called his shot, you were already stressing about it, waiting for it to happen. Bird didn't need speed or a quick first step. If you hesitated for even half a second because you were still thinking about what he said, the shot was already in the air. That's why players feared him. He beat you twice. First in your mind, then on the court. Of course, not everyone bought into the Bird legend. Dennis Rodman, a guy who rarely gives respect, brushed him off. He said Bird wasn't tough to guard, just a fundamentally sound white guy who could shoot. Classic Rodman, always trying to poke at someone's aura, always trying to stir controversy. He even said years later that if Bird played today, he'd probably be in Europe instead of dominating the NBA. But here's the twist. Even while trying to tear him down, Rodman accidentally proved the point. Bird didn't scare people with flash or athleticism. He scared them because he made simple basketball unstoppable. He turned fundamentals into something defenders had no answer for. So what do you think? Could anyone in today's NBA handle prime Larry Bird, a dude who told you exactly what he was about to do and then did it anyway? Drop your take in the comments, hit that like button if this changed how you see Bird's greatness, and subscribe because more legendary breakdowns are on the way.